Pay attention to the woman climbing into the backseat of this Honda Accord. Her name is Hannah Marie Pritchard. She is 26 years old, born on a cold March morning in Dayton, Ohio. A graduate student in environmental science at Ohio State University, she carries the weight of ambition and promise on her shoulders. Her research focuses on something most people never think about: microplastic contamination slowly poisoning the watersheds of Ohio, invisible threats lurking in every stream and river. At 10:47 p.m. on Friday, November 3rd, as autumn darkness settles over Columbus like a heavy blanket, she requests an Uber from the Thompson Library on campus to her apartment in the Short North District. It's a route she's taken dozens of times before. The ride should take exactly 11 minutes. 11 minutes that would forever divide Hannah's life into before and after. Hannah had spent the entire evening in the library hunched over research papers and data sets. Her laptop bag, a worn leather messenger bag her father gave her when she started graduate school, sits faithfully beside her. The fluorescent lights of the library have given her a headache, but she's made progress. Good progress. She checks her phone as the car pulls away from the curb, the campus building sliding past her window like silent witnesses. She messages her roommate with practiced efficiency. "Heading home, be there in 15. The message sends. The blue check marks appear. Ashley has read it. Hannah leans back against the seat, exhaling the tension of the evening. She doesn't know that in less than half an hour she will become a case number, a file, a mystery that will consume investigators and haunt a city. Now pay very close attention to the driver. His name is Solomon Okafor, pronounced Okafor, though most passengers mispronounce it and he's learned not to correct them. He is 41 years old, his face lined with the kind of weathering that comes from working 2 jobs to support a family. A Nigerian immigrant who arrived in the United States 9 years ago with hopes of becoming an accountant, he has been driving for Uber for 8 months, 6 days a week, sometimes 10 hours at a stretch. His profile shows 4.92 stars across 1,147 rides, a rating that reflects his professionalism, his cleanliness, his habit of keeping mints in the center console, and his radio tuned to NPR at a respectful volume. No complaints, no incidents, no red flags, nothing in his background check, his driving record, or his passenger reviews suggests anything but a hard-working father of 3 trying to make ends meet while his accounting credentials from Lagos go through the endless American certification process. The dashcam mounted on his windshield records everything. It's a precaution he installed himself after another driver told him about a false accusation. The camera cost him $89.99 at Best Buy. It would prove to be the most important purchase of his life. At 10:58 p.m., the vehicle arrives at Hannah's apartment building on North High Street, a renovated Victorian structure with ornate woodwork and large windows that glow warmly in the night. The dashcam shows Hannah gathering her belongings with the practiced movements of routine. She thanks the driver. "Thank you so much. Have a good night." Her voice tired but polite. The door opens with a soft click. She steps onto the sidewalk, her boots making contact with concrete. The ride is marked complete at 10:59 p.m. Within 30 minutes, Hannah Pritchard would vanish from the face of the earth. By morning, as the sun rises cold and indifferent over Columbus, investigators would discover something that would turn this simple ride into the opening chapter of a nightmare. The drop-off was not the end of the ride. It was the beginning of something far darker, something that had been planned, something that had been waiting. Hannah Marie Pritchard grew up in Dayton, in a modest colonial house on a tree-lined street where everyone knew everyone else's business. She was the youngest of 3 children. Her brother Michael was 32, a high school teacher. Her sister Sarah was 29, a pediatric nurse. Hannah was the baby, the last surprise, the one her mother always called "my little bonus." Her parents, Richard and Margaret Pritchard, described her as driven and fiercely independent from the moment she could walk. She was the child who insisted on tying her own shoes even when she didn't know how, who cried when she got a B+ in 8th grade algebra, who applied to 17 universities because she wanted options, who had worked 3 part-time jobs to minimize her student loans. She had moved to Columbus 4 years earlier for graduate school, leaving behind the comfort of family Sunday dinners and her mother's constant worry. She lived with 2 roommates in a converted Victorian house divided into 3 apartments. Hers was on the 2nd floor, facing the street, with high ceilings and radiators that clanked all night in winter. She kept regular hours, almost obsessively so. Her roommates could set their watches by her routines. She was careful about safety in ways her friends sometimes teased her about. She never left drinks unattended at bars. She shared her location with her parents. She kept pepper spray on her keychain. She checked the back seat of her car before getting in. Her Instagram posts from that week showed genuine excitement about her research. There were photos of water samples, graphs showing contamination levels, a selfie with her research advisor giving a thumbs up. She was studying microplastic contamination in Ohio watersheds, work that mattered, work that could influence environmental policy, work that kept her up at night both from excitement and anxiety. Her thesis defense was scheduled for April 17th, spring semester. She had already received interest from 3 environmental consulting firms. One had mentioned a starting salary that would finally allow her to pay off her loans within 5 years instead of 20. Her whole future was laid out before her like a map, clear and achievable. That Friday evening was unremarkable in every way that would later seem impossible to investigators. How could something so ordinary be the doorway to horror? Hannah arrived at Thompson Library at 6:14 p.m. Security footage shows her entering through the main entrance, bundled in her navy peacoat, laptop bag over her shoulder, a coffee from the campus Starbucks in her hand. She took the elevator to the 3rd floor, her usual floor, because the 2nd floor was always too crowded and the 4th floor too quiet in ways that made her uneasy. She settled into her usual study carrel near the east windows, the one she'd claimed as hers since her first semester. She worked alone as she preferred. The library was moderately busy for a Friday evening, other graduate students grinding through research, undergraduates procrastinating on papers due Monday, the occasional person sleeping slumped over a textbook. At 10:40 p.m., Hannah packed her bag with methodical precision. Laptop secured, power cord wound neatly, research papers filed in their folder, her water bottle tucked into the side pocket. Security footage shows her heading downstairs, pausing to throw away her coffee cup, pulling out her phone. 7 minutes later, at 10:47 p.m., she requested the Uber from outside the library's north entrance. The pickup pin drops on her screen. Driver assigned, Solomon, 4 minutes away. She wrapped her scarf tighter against the November chill and waited under the building's exterior lights. Her roommate, Ashley Chen, was watching a cooking competition show in their living room when Hannah's message arrived at 10:48 p.m. Ashley, a nursing student with her own chaotic schedule, glanced at her phone, smiled at the message, and replied immediately, "Okay, see you soon." She did not think anything was wrong. Nothing felt wrong. The universe gave no warning, no premonition. The apartment was warm and comfortable, the television providing background noise, her own laptop open beside her as she half worked on a care plan due Monday. By 11:30 p.m., Ashley was concerned. It started as a small itch of worry, barely noticeable. Hannah should have been home by 11:05 at the latest, even with traffic. Ashley had learned Hannah's rhythms over 2 years of cohabitation. She was never late without texting, never changed plans without communicating. Hannah's bedroom door remained closed, but the apartment felt too quiet. There was a quality to the silence that Ashley would later struggle to describe to police, not the silence of someone sleeping, but the silence of absence. Ashley knocked softly at first. "Hannah, you home?" No answer. She knocked harder. "Hannah?" Nothing. She opened the door, half expecting to find Hannah passed out with headphones on or in the shower and unable to hear. The room was empty. The bed was made from that morning. Hannah's keys were not on the hook by the door. Her coat was not in the closet. Her presence was simply gone. Ashley called Hannah's phone at 11:32 p.m. It went straight to voicemail. Not ringing, then voicemail. The instant jump that meant the phone was either dead or powered off. Hannah's voice on the recording, bright and professional. "Hi, you've reached Hannah Pritchard. Please leave a message and I'll get back to you as soon as possible." At 11:47 p.m., Ashley called again. Still voicemail. She sent 3 text messages in rapid succession. "Hey, are you okay? Hannah, seriously, where are you? This isn't funny, please respond." None were delivered. The messages stayed green instead of turning blue. They sat there, unread, in digital limbo. At 11:53 p.m., Ashley's hands shaking now, she called Hannah's parents. The phone rang 4 times. Richard Pritchard answered, his voice thick with sleep. "Hello? Mr. Pritchard, it's Ashley. I'm sorry to call so late, but I think something's wrong with Hannah." By 12:14 a.m., Hannah's mother, Margaret Pritchard, was on the phone with Columbus Police Department, her voice cracking with a mother's terror, insisting that her daughter would never just disappear, that something was wrong, that they needed to look for her now, not in 24 hours, not when it was convenient, now. The investigation had begun, but Hannah had already been missing for over an hour. The initial police response was measured, almost frustratingly so. This was standard protocol, the machinery of bureaucracy grinding slowly to life. Hannah was an adult, 26 years old, legally entitled to go wherever she wanted without explanation. She had been gone less than 2 hours. Officers took the report and assured the family they would investigate, but stressed that most missing persons cases resolve quickly. Young adults have fights with partners. They go to friends' houses. They turn off their phones when they need space. They come home sheepish and embarrassed by the fuss. Margaret Pritchard was not reassured. Her voice rose, sharpened by panic. You don't understand. My daughter does not disappear. My daughter does not turn off her phone. My daughter does not ignore messages from her roommate. Something is wrong. The officer taking the report, a young patrol officer named Chen, no relation to Ashley, had heard variations of this conversation 100 times. Frantic parents, missing adult children, but something in Margaret Pritchard's voice, some quality of certainty and terror, made him take extra notes. He flagged the case for immediate follow-up. Detective Vincent Morales was assigned to the case Saturday morning at 8:23 a.m. after the night shift supervisor reviewed the report and saw enough red flags to escalate it. Morales was a 12-year veteran of the Missing Persons Unit, a quiet man in his mid-40s with salt and pepper hair and eyes that had seen too much human tragedy. He had handled hundreds of cases, runaways, miscommunications, adults exercising their legal right to vanish. He had found people dead. He had found people who didn't want to be found. He had found people who should never have been lost in the first place. But certain details caught his attention immediately, his investigator's instincts prickling. Hannah's phone had gone dark at 11:14 p.m., not powered off gradually, not running out of battery with warning messages, but terminated abruptly. One moment connected to the network, the next moment gone. Her last known location, according to cell tower data pulled from her carrier, was not her apartment building on North High Street. It was 3 blocks south, near the intersection of High Street and Fifth Avenue, an area of restaurants and bars that would have been moderately busy on a Friday night. The Uber ride had ended at her apartment at 10:59 p.m. So why was her phone pinging from 3 blocks away 15 minutes later? Why had she left? Where was she going? At 9:15 a.m., Detective Morales requested the Uber ride data through the department's direct liaison with the company. This was not a casual request. It required a formal legal process, documentation, justification. The company responded within hours, faster than usual, perhaps sensing the urgency. A young woman missing less than 12 hours. Ride details. Driver: Solomon Okafor, ID 847392847. Vehicle 2019 Honda Accord Silver. License plate GHJ 4721. Pickup time 10:47 p.m. Thompson Library. Drop-off time 10:59 p.m. 1847. N High Street. Route, standard, no deviations, no additional stops. Distance, 3.2 miles. Fare, 11.47. The ride appeared completely routine. A standard Friday night pickup, a standard route, a completed transaction. At 1:37 p.m., Detective Morales contacted Solomon Okafor directly. The driver answered on the second ring, his voice cautious. Hello? Mr. Okafor, this is Detective Vincent Morales with Columbus Police Department. I need to speak with you about a passenger you transported last night. There was a pause. Morales could hear the sudden tension, the way Okafor's breathing changed. Is something wrong? I'd rather discuss this in person. Are you available to come to the station this afternoon? Another pause. Am I in trouble? No, sir, but a passenger from your vehicle is missing and we need your help. Missing. Okafor's voice rose with genuine alarm. Who? When? Hannah Pritchard. You dropped her at her apartment at 10:59 p.m. Her family reported her missing around midnight. Oh no, no. Okafor's distress sounded real through the phone. The young woman, the student, she was fine when she left my car. She thanked me. I watched her walk away. I understand, Mr. Okafor, but I need you to come in and give a formal statement. Can you be here at 3 p.m.? Yes, of course. I will come now, right now. 3 p.m. is fine. Do you know where the downtown headquarters is? Yes, I will be there. Detective, I hope she is okay. Morales ended the call and leaned back in his chair, studying his notes. Okafor sounded genuinely concerned, genuinely surprised. But then again, Morales had interviewed plenty of people who sounded innocent and weren't. Solomon Okafor arrived at the Columbus Police Department's downtown headquarters at 2:43 p.m. on Saturday, November 4th, 17 minutes early. He wore pressed khakis and a button-down shirt, dressed as if for a job interview. His hands trembled slightly as he signed in at the front desk. Morales met him in the lobby and escorted him to interview room 3, a windowless space with industrial carpet and a table bolted to the floor. There was no two-way mirror, budget cuts, but a camera mounted in the corner recorded everything. Thank you for coming in, Mr. Okafor, Morales began, his tone professional but not cold. Can I get you water? Coffee? Water, please. Okafor's accent was noticeable, but his English was perfect, formal. Morales returned with 2 bottles of water and sat across from him. I want to be clear. You're not under arrest. You're not a suspect. But Hannah Pritchard is missing, and you may be one of the last people to see her. Anything you remember could be crucial. Okafor nodded vigorously. I understand. I want to help. This is terrible. I have daughters. If something happened to them... He trailed off, swallowing hard. Walk me through last night. From the moment you picked up Hannah. Okafor closed his eyes, clearly trying to recall every detail. I received the request at 10:43 p.m. I was on High Street near campus, finishing another ride, 4 minutes to pick up. I arrived at Thompson Library at 10:47, exactly on time. She was waiting outside, right where the pin showed. What was your first impression of her? Professional. Quiet. She got in the back seat, said hello politely. She checked her phone immediately. Many passengers do this. I confirmed her destination, North High Street apartment. She said yes, that's right. We began driving. Did you talk during the ride? A little. I asked how her evening was. She said she'd been studying. I asked what she studied, and she said environmental science. I told her that was important work. She smiled but didn't elaborate. She seemed tired, not uncomfortable, just finished with her day. Any stops along the way? No, straight route. The app gave me High Street the entire way. Traffic was light, maybe 11 minutes total. What happened when you arrived? Okafor's face grew more serious. I pulled to the curb outside her building. I remember it was well lit, nice neighborhood. She gathered her bag, said, "Thank you so much, have a good night." She opened the door and got out. I said, "You're welcome, be safe." She closed the door. Then what? Then... Okafor paused. This is important. I did not leave immediately. I waited maybe 10-15 seconds. This is my habit. I watch passengers reach their door, especially women at night, especially in the dark. It's just being decent. Morales leaned forward. So you watched her? Yes. She stood on the sidewalk for a moment. She was looking at her phone, I thought. Then she started walking. Which direction? South, away from the building entrance. I remember thinking it was odd. Her building was right there, but she walked the other way. But I thought maybe she was going to a different entrance or meeting someone. It was none of my business. After a few seconds, I drove away. I received another ride request almost immediately. What time did you drive away? The app marked the ride complete at 10:59. I probably pulled away at 11:01, maybe 11:02. Did you see anyone else? Any other vehicles? Okafor frowned, thinking hard. There were cars parked on the street. It's a busy area. I don't remember anyone specific. I'm sorry. Morales made notes. What did you do after you left? I accepted the next ride request. Pickup was in German Village, about 7 minutes away. I drove there, picked up a couple coming from a restaurant, took them to the brewery district. Then I had 2 more rides. I ended my shift at 1:07 a.m. and drove home. I live in Reynoldsburg. I went to bed around 1:45. I woke up to your call. Mr. Okafor, do you have a dash camera in your vehicle? Okafor's face changed. Relief, Morales thought. Yes, I do. I installed it 6 months ago. Does it record audio and video? Yes. Continuous recording when the app is active. It saves to a microSD card. Do you still have the footage from last night? Yes. It records in loops, but I haven't driven much today. It should still be there. Do you want it? Very much. Okafor reached into his pocket and pulled out his keys, then his wallet. From a small zippered compartment, he extracted a tiny microSD card. I brought it just in case. When you said she was missing, I thought this might help. Morales took the card carefully, as if it were made of glass. Thank you, Mr. Okafor. This could be exactly what we need. The interview lasted 41 minutes. Okafor answered every question without hesitation, without evasion, without asking for a lawyer. He provided his phone records voluntarily. He agreed to GPS tracking verification of his movements. He offered to take a polygraph. Morales walked him out at 3:24 p.m. We'll be in touch if we need anything else. Please find her, Okafor said quietly. Please. Back at his desk, Detective Morales held the microSD card between his thumb and forefinger, feeling its negligible weight. This tiny piece of plastic and silicone might contain the answer to Hannah Pritchard's disappearance. He inserted it into his computer with hands that were suddenly unsteady. The dashcam captured the entire ride in crisp 1080p resolution, the timestamp visible in the lower right corner in white digital numbers, the audio surprisingly clear. Morales put on headphones and dimmed his office lights. He needed to see everything, hear everything. 10:47:23 p.m. The rear passenger door opens. Hannah climbs into the back seat, her face visible in profile. She looks tired but alert. Hi, she says. Hello, good evening, Okafor responds. Going to North High Street? Yes, please. She settles in, pulling out her phone. The interior camera captures her typing. This would be the message to Ashley. Heading home. Be there in 15. The message that would soon become evidence. 10:48:41 p.m. The vehicle merges onto High Street, heading north. Traffic is moderate. Hannah's face is illuminated by her phone screen, then goes dark as she puts it in her coat pocket. She stares out the window. 10:52:18 p.m. Okafor makes small talk. Busy evening? Just studying, Hannah replies. Her voice is pleasant but distant, the tone of someone being polite but not wanting conversation. What do you study? Environmental science, pollution in watersheds. Important work, Okafor says genuinely. Thanks. Hannah offers a small smile. The conversation ends naturally. Hannah returns to looking out the window. Morales watched her face, searching for any sign of distress, fear, anticipation. He saw only a tired graduate student ready to be home. 10:56:33 p.m. The vehicle approaches the short North District. Hannah begins gathering her belongings, pulling her laptop bag onto her lap, checking that she has everything, normal end-of-ride behavior. 10:58:52 p.m. The Honda pulls to the curb outside Hannah's apartment building. The dashcam shows the building's entrance clearly. Brick facade, glass door with security keypad, well-lit entryway with decorative sconces. A safe-looking building in a good neighborhood. 10:59:07 p.m. Hannah unbuckles her seatbelt. Thank you so much. Have a good night. You're welcome. Be safe, Okafor responds. She opens the door. She steps onto the sidewalk, her boots making contact with concrete. She closes the door with a soft thunk, and then the dashcam captures something no one expected, something that would transform this case from a possible abduction into something far more complex and disturbing. Hannah does not walk toward the apartment building. She stands on the sidewalk for exactly 3 seconds, utterly still. Her body language changes subtly. Her shoulders straighten, her head turns. She appears to be looking at something out of frame, to the south, something the dashcam cannot see from its angle. Then she walks. Not toward her building, not toward safety. South. Deliberately, walking with purpose, her laptop bag over her shoulder, moving past parked cars. Okafor does not drive away immediately. The dashcam continues recording for 11 more seconds. Morales realized this was Okafor's habit, watching to make sure she reached safety. But Hannah doesn't go to her building. 10:59:18 p.m. Hannah walks south on High Street, her figure clearly visible under the streetlights. She moves quickly, not running but walking with determination. 30 feet, 40 feet, 50 feet. 10:59:24 p.m. Hannah stops abruptly. A vehicle pulls alongside her, moving slowly from behind parked cars. A large, dark-colored SUV. The dashcam captures it in the upper portion of the frame. Morales paused the footage, zoomed in, adjusted the contrast. The vehicle was a black Chevrolet Tahoe, late model, expensive-looking, with tinted windows. The license plate was partially visible but obscured by the angle and shadows. He could make out what might be an Ohio plate, possibly starting with H or M, but the rest was unreadable. 10:59:26 p.m. Hannah approaches the passenger side window without hesitation, without fear. She leans down slightly, her face near the darkened window, clearly speaking to someone inside. The window doesn't open. The exchange lasts approximately 5 seconds. She shows no signs of distress, no backing away, no defensive posture, nothing to suggest a stranger or a threat. 10:59:31 p.m. Hannah walks around to the rear passenger side of the Tahoe. She opens the door herself. It's not opened for her from inside. She climbs inside with the same casual movement she'd used exiting Okafor's car minutes earlier. The door closes. 10:59:34 p.m. The Tahoe pulls away smoothly, heading south on High Street, its brake lights glowing red, then disappearing into the night traffic. 11:02 p.m. Okafor's Honda finally pulls away from the curb, heading north to his next pickup. The recording ends. Detective Morales sat in silence, staring at his frozen computer screen. He played the footage 3 more times. Each time the sequence was identical. The inescapable conclusion remained the same. Hannah Pritchard, after being safely dropped at her apartment building, after messaging her roommate that she'd be home in 15 minutes, had voluntarily walked away from safety. She had approached a waiting vehicle. She had climbed inside of her own free will. No force, no struggle, no visible coercion. She had gotten into that Tahoe as if she'd been expecting it, as if she knew exactly what she was doing. Morales pulled out his phone and called his lieutenant. "We need to expand this investigation. Hannah Pritchard didn't disappear. She left. And she left with someone she was planning to meet. The question wasn't whether she'd been taken. The question was who was in that Tahoe, and why had Hannah been willing to get inside? Pay attention to the woman climbing into the backseat of this Honda Accord."